Hit the shower. Grab your coffee. And get ready to attack the weekend with Charlie Usen and Jack Pembroke as they catch you up on everything Wisconsin sports you may have missed this past week. All before you even finish your breakfast. It's Wisconsin Sports Weekend, brought to you by the Apollo Cafe on Brady Street. 25 years of Greek tradition. Enjoy gyros, souvlaki, fresh salads, and the legendary Zeus burger. Dine in, take out, or get it delivered. Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
How we doing, folks? How we doing? It is a big Saturday here, not only for the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, but for the entire state of Wisconsin. Bears, Packers, going on Wild Card Weekend tonight, starting at 7 p.m. on Prime for some reason. That's a little weird to me, Jack. Jack, how do you feel about the game being on Prime right away?
I think you shouldn't have to deal with a paywall if you're trying to watch. This is what, the hottest playoff game?
Yeah,
they know that. So. They know that.
I think they do know that. I think they're trying to get Amazon to buy in a little bit. That is Jack Pembroke. I'm Charlie Usen. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, right there on historic Brady Street for the past 25 years. Congrats to Apollo Cafe, 25-year celebration. That's awesome over there as well. Like I mentioned before, we're going Packers Bears heavy today. We're going to give you guys a little bit of a semi-preview show. I know Tommy Wirtz was on last night, giving you that 1 hour. You had Eli Berkovitz on with him, which was a great interview. But we wanted to give you a little bit more, dive into some questions me and Jack have had for the past week or so here as we get ready for this game, again, happening tonight at 7 p.m. on Amazon Prime. We're going to dive into what the death sentence could be for the Packers in a game like this, what it could be for the Chicago Bears. We're also going to give you guys a little preview of the other upcoming playoff games happening today and tomorrow, so you can keep up to date with that. Maybe schedule ahead for the Packers' next opponent. Or if you're a Bears fan, maybe tune in, schedule ahead for the Bears' next opponent. We are also going to talk about who could be the surprise hero for this Packers team in the Super Bowl, who could stand out in a position that maybe they haven't yet so far this season. And then, as always, the Warlocks Locks, special Packers Bears edition of that. And we're going to close off the show with the Wisconsin Sports Weekend Pub Crawl. Jack, at the end of week 18, after the Eagles somehow still almost beat the Washington Commanders with Tanner McKee at quarterback and the rest of the backups out there, and it was finally decided that the Packers were going to play the Chicago Bears this Saturday, what was your immediate reaction to that?
I mean, we kind of expected this, didn't we, Charlie? We kind of thought we were going to get at least a Rocky III out of this matchup. I think it's the best. It's the best thing for the NFC North. It's the best thing for the NFL right now. When this rivalry is cooking and humming, it's the best the NFL can get. And you get two close-nosed neighbors, one to the south, one to the north. You know, one has better cheesy goodness. Some other team has a guy who takes his shirt off in the locker room, but he is a good coach. I think it's gonna be a great matchup. I was feeling good. We went in there with the JV offense and were able, other than, PTSD from Seattle and not being able to hold a kick, an onside kick. The Packers won 98% of that game with a ragtag little Giants crew, So I feel like if we can stay healthy, you can keep Jordan Love from being hurt. The Packers have a very good chance, to win.
You brought up the backup ragtag squad that they had going into the second quarter and beyond of that second game with the Chicago Bears. Jordan Love being injured and out for the past 4 weeks, or 3 weeks technically, of the regular season. Jack, do you feel like there's any rust that comes with Jordan Love taking that much time off? And he was still practicing. He was still going through the playbook. He was still watching film, doing all the things that football players are supposed to be doing when you get paid that much money. He was doing all of that stuff, but he hasn't been in a live game situation. And the Packers, have felt the effect of that. I think that's been a huge reason why they haven't won the past 4 games here. And then Jordan Love and this offense, I feel like specifically are going to feel the effects of that. What are your expectations for Jordan Love going into this game?
Anytime you have a quarterback who's missed time with the head injury, there's gonna be questions, right? Is he gonna come out firing on all cylinders? Is he gonna be able to matriculate the offense down the field? Is he gonna look good on not just little dink and dunk passes, but on one-on-one coverage where we're gonna need Christian Watson and other guys to beat their cover? So I think to answer your question correctly, Charlie, is LaFleur's gonna have to scheme an offensive set for the first 2 series where he gets Jordan feeling. Jordan's great at those little quick outs, right? Mm-hmm. Need to hit Jaden Reed, and we're gonna have to see some Matthew Golden. For the love of baby Jesus, we are in the Christmas spirit still. It is the Christmas season. The wise men have not come. And if you're Eastern Orthodox, you haven't even celebrated Christmas yet. So for baby Jesus's sake, can we please pass the ball to Matthew Golden?
You have so much random knowledge that
I know.
I would never know when the Eastern Orthodox celebrate Christmas. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But outside of Jordan Love, the Packers offense is getting a few other key pieces back in that group. We want to ask you, what are your expectations for injured Packers returning to this offense? So let's stick with Jordan Love a little bit before I dive into guys like Josh Jacobs and Zach Tom as well, because both those guys potentially could be coming back here as well. If you want to get in on this question, you can hit us up on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250, 1250, or we are live streaming on Twitter, on X, whatever you want to call it. We're on there at WI Sports Radio. Can see Jack and I's lovely faces over there. At least Jack's lovely face. I don't know about me sometimes, but that's all right.
You're the one of us who has a girlfriend, so I think that counts.
Too. You know, that's fair. I think that evens out a little bit.
Yeah.
And then at WI Sports Radio on YouTube as well, live streaming on there. You can reply to us in what we call the Dugout Chat. A lot of fun going back and forth with you guys on there, but we always love a call too as well. So again, what are your expectations for injured Packers returning to this offense? So Jack, you talked about beating the man coverage that the Bears are potentially going to give you. I think going into this game, the Bears understand they need to play a lot of cover 3, which I think limits their ability to blitz the passer a little bit, which is something else that they've liked to do so far against the Green Bay Packers. But if Jordan Love maybe has to be more creative early on in this game because the Bears run an offense that they normally aren't suited to, so again, they go into that cover 3 style, do you think that's something that could potentially mess with Jordan Love's head a little bit early on in this game? And do you think an early turnover is going to matter for the result of this game, unlike what we saw in the first matchup between these teams where Jordan Love had that really bad interception early on in the game and it didn't really change the momentum that the Packers had?
So Charlie, that would be backbreaking to answer you shortly and curtly. Yeah, that's in the first 2 series. What I do not want to see is us looking like we're 3/4 of the offense is getting us down there. We get in between the 25 and 40 and we take a sack like we did in that game, or he might try and force a pass that just isn't, there's other people open and you're trying to overthrow a middle linebacker and a safety, and you get caught up in where you're praying that Jordan Love just throw it out of bounds instead of throwing a pass like that. That to me would bode, look, the weather's going to be horrible. It's going to be really bad conditions. You're going to look at a lot of these teams to run. Every pass is going to have to be extra accurate and safe for the first half. And if we turn over the ball, you guys win in the first half. If you win the turnover, if we lose the turnover battle in the first half, the Bears win.
So I got to ask you, this is a question that we had yesterday on Wisconsin Sports Daily. Tommy brought it up on the Mason Crosby show as well. What do you think is more important in this game? The Packers avoiding turnovers on offense or the Packers defense forcing a turnover or 2 versus the Bears?
Early on, I don't want the offense. I want the offense to be able to gain yards and get points, whether it's multiple field goals, a touchdown.
Possible,
yeah, you're away. You need to put points on the board. You know this as a Bears fan. If this game was reversed and you're in Lambeau, you need to put up 10 points. You need to be the first to 10 points in the first half. To make sure that you go into halftime with control the clock, control the game, control the offense, because the weather's going to be crud. The wind's going to be crappy. So both quarterbacks are going to have to deal with that. And your wide receivers are going to have to deal with catching balls in 30 plus wind. And the ball's going to be hard as a rock. So it's going to be harder for kicking. You're going to have to be able to keep the ball and run the ball.
So if you have to keep the ball and run the ball, the other key piece in this offense then becomes Josh Jacobs as well. Jacobs is a guy that's dealt with injuries throughout a majority of the season, was still only about 70 yards short of 1,000 yards, still ahead about like 935, I think what it was. He had still a pretty solid season, 13 total touchdowns, as well, was a lot bigger a part of this passing game than he ever was in Oakland or the first year with the Green Bay Packers here. How much of an impact do you think he's going to play after getting a couple games of rest here, a little time to get his mind right and feel healthy? He came out this week and said this is the healthiest he's felt. He feels like this is really starting to be a true budding rivalry. He really wants to kind of put the Bears in their place. He's talked about how this game just means a lot more and that they're not going to take anything from the Bears if given the opportunity. Do you think Josh Jacobs is going to be a big part of Matt LaFleur's game plan in this one, or do you think it's going to be more like how we've seen it for the rest of the season, where it's just kind of on the vibe of how the game's going? Seems like sometimes they want to run the ball a ton, and then if the run isn't going, they're very willing to just switch to a Jordan Love pass-heavy attack. Do you think this is something where that run game is a staple throughout, no matter what happens?
It needs to be, Charlie. It just needs to. The offensive line is so battered right now. You need that comfortability of, hey, we can run for 5 yards when we need to in a playoff game, because that's going to make life easier for Jordan Love. He's not going to have to force passes. They're not going to be looking at 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15. That's what scares me in this first half. If there's no run game, they're going to be, like you said, they're going to be back in an offense backed up where they need to now throw 70% of the time, and Jordan needs to win this game on his arm. That kind of scares me. Now, the brighter side of the pillow here, or the silver lining in the clouds here, is Josh Jacobs has not played better than 75 or 80% all this year. That knee has been so banged up. And he even alluded to it kind of jokingly, I think it was week 15, he said, yeah, Matt LaFleur has to tell me I need to not force myself to play injured all the time, that I need to rest when I need to rest. And he kind of jokingly said, but I'm a maniac. I need to be playing. It was great that he got 2 or 3 weeks. I think even your coach, Ben Johnson, kind of alluded to it being an issue when they're like, well, we played our players in the last week 18. They're thinking about him being healthy. And if he's able to not be like a 150-yard rusher, but if he can give you 95 to 105 yards, the Packers will have kept the ball safe, and he'll probably give you a rushing touchdown. And this game, if people think it's going to be in the 30s, it's not. This is going to be mid-20s to teens game. It's going to be something around like 24-17 or 24-20. It's just going to be a tough game to get points. So you're going to need a run game.
For sure. And I get where you're coming from. I kind of feel like this is going to be a Josh Jacobs game. We haven't seen it all season. He's had a little bit of rest. And so many people have put this onus on the Packers, or the Bears running the ball, and how Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift, that duo, has been so dangerous in the second half of the season here. And the Packers need to find a way to stop that on defense. A lot of people forget that the Bears run defense might be just as bad, if not worse, than the Packers run defense.
So their total, and I did a little research, did a little homework, Charlie. Their total defense, according to PFF and all the number crunchers, is 29th overall.
The Chicago Bears?
Yes, the Chicago Bears.
That makes sense. They turn the ball over, and that's how they've won games. And I said this yesterday with Sparky, going back to that question that I brought up to you, is it more important whether the defense gets a turnover, the offense avoids turnovers? I really think it's kind of important in this game that the defense forces those turnovers, and that the Packers are probably going to give a turnover or two to the Chicago Bears, because that's what they do. As long as you can beat them in the other aspects, and then also those turnovers, you limit them from being scoring plays or scoring opportunities. So if you're going to throw an interception, make sure it's going to be far downfield where they can't return it. If you're going to fumble the ball, make sure you're jumping on it as fast as possible. Don't let them get into the red zone with those opportunities. Make their offense drive, because I don't know if that's something they can do consistently here. I want to head over to the YouTube dugout chat. Our guy Tim is over there. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Tim. How are you? Game day. Can't wait. My question is, Packers have been the better team in the previous 2 matchups, but lost a heartbreaker in Chicago. Do the Pack come in with that better team attitude, or do they have some PTSD from the ending of their last meetup? Go, Pack, go. Jack, do you feel like that last play of that game, the last couple drives of that game, were demoralizing enough to the Packers to result in those 4 straight losses and then also have an impact on this game coming up here?
I think if you're any coach, right, at any level, this is the speech or the thing you focus on from that game is, look, everything that could have possibly gone right. If they were playing Dungeons and Dragons, these guys rolled 320s, 3 plays in a row, you know? So everything went wrong for the Packers in that fourth quarter. Defense was gassed, couldn't do anything right. We were just Swiss cheese on a run defense. You say, look, Bears got really lucky. We weren't healthy. We have Jordan Love. We have Josh Jacobs back. Our wide receivers are more healthy. We easily could have won, and the football gods gave them a win. You know, they stole a win from us. We can go in here. We're comfortable here. We're not afraid to play the Bears at home. And that's how I feel like a lot of Packers fans feel. I usually before games, you either feel nervous as a Packer fan in this business that watches the games enough to know, like, hey, are we good enough to play with this team? I feel like we match up really well against you. I would have been afraid if we had to play an Eagles or a different team. We know each other so well. I think that gives an advantage. And I also think something that's not thought of, Packer fans, we know travel really well. And what do we know? There's lots of Chicago Bears fans and Packer fans right along this border. So, man, it kind of has a Friday Night Lights feel, doesn't it?
It does. It does. As we look forward to this game here, you're bringing up this idea of a lot of luck happening at the end of that game there. I kind of want to point something out as well here. With the Chicago Bears team, despite there being a lot of luck at the end of these games that they're winning, the ones that they're pulling out in close fashion, there's skill to that too. There's something to executing late in these games and making plays when they count and when they matter and keeping the game close enough throughout that, controlling the time of possession, spending this time as a team looking to get those execution points at the end there. I think that's something that the Packers do have to worry about. I know there's tons of luck going on there, but if the Packers aren't going to be the ones to execute in those crunch time moments and the Bears are, I think that's something you have to watch as a Green Bay Packers team, Jack.
That's very fair. That's something in the back of my mind that I worry about because they've done it before to us. And anytime in a playoff game, it's a win can teeter on the edge of a knife. So you need any little bit of luck for the Packers would be necessary.
For sure. Let's head on over to the Nicolay Law Talk and text line. Our guy Joe in Milwaukee is joining the show. Joe, thanks for hopping on. You excited for tonight?
I'm very nervous. My question to you guys is, you talk about how bad the Bears defense is,
right,
and it clearly is. Throughout the year, I think I just read they're the only team in the NFL that had a defense to give up 42 or more points in 3 different games.
Yep.
How come when the Packers play them then, does it seem like the Packers offense struggles to put up points compared to other teams? Like the Niners were hurt at multiple positions. Shanahan found a way. They went up and down on the field, up and down the field on the Bears. And I think Jordan Love's a better quarterback than Brock Purdy. Why does it seem like we struggle against the Bears to run it down their throats and to put up points?
I think you had a great answer in your question there, Joe. You talked about Shanahan. I think Shanahan's a better play caller and gets better late game, second half performances out of his team. I think recently in the last 2 years, LaFleur has always stuck to a certain type of play calls or game plan. And I think that's what gets him in trouble. And that's why you see the offense not really fire on all cylinders. That's just my opinion, though.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, Joe. Thanks for calling in. Don't be a stranger, my man.
Yep.
Awesome. I would also add this to that conversation. So I'm a bigger fan of Matt LaFleur than I think some people are. Obviously, then it seems like you are over there, Jack. I think the other key to the 49ers being able to execute in moments like that is, yes, they are missing key players, but they do still have some really great veteran players. The Packers don't have Christian McCaffrey. I'm sorry.
No.
In their wide receiver room, they don't have a player who is experienced enough in this offense or can stay on the field long enough in this offense, like a Jawan Jennings, like a George Kittle when they're healthy in situations like this. And I know George Kittle gets hurt all the time too, But at the same time, Trent Williams, when he's in the game for San Francisco,
I was
think they
going to
just
say
have
the
a
offensive
team.
line is better there.
I think they just have a team in general that is more gelled than the Green Bay Packers at this point as well. Green Bay Packers have found a little bit more cohesion as this season has gone on. But if we're being completely honest, this is truly only the third season of this iteration of this team getting to work together and figure it out. That Shanahan team, a lot of those guys have been together for 5+ years in that offense and working with that squad. So, yes, I do think Kyle Shanahan probably is a better head coach, probably is a better play caller than Matt LaFleur, but I don't think it's by that much. I think just the way they've built that team has brought on this cohesion, and they are just a really good offense in general. That Bears team, I think when you're playing a San Francisco 49ers squad, it doesn't have the same kind of implications it does when it's the Bears versus the Green Bay Packers. So mix that with an amazing offense, and yeah, you get games like that. And also, that game still went down to the wire, too. The Bears still fall all the way back because they just have this sense of urgency when it counts, and they're able to go and catch up to these games. I think with the Green Bay Packers, they work so hard to slow down the pace of the offense while the 49ers are trying to do the opposite as well. The Packers get to these points where it's 14-10 at halftime or 10-7 at halftime. And when it is matters at the beginning of the third quarter and then at that kind of halfway point in the fourth quarter, they go and score and they strike when they feel like they have those openings, and they just don't have that same talent that the 49ers do.
Great points. The only thing I'll add is to Joe's question. I also think in that situation, our defense couldn't get off the field. So you're not putting the ball back in your offensive hands enough to get points. And then on the other flip side of that is the Achilles heel of this offense has been we'll get into the red zone and we'll just stutter and take field goals instead of touchdowns. And a good team, a team that will go far in the playoffs, like a Niners or another NFL team, you score touchdowns instead of field goals.
For sure. And I think a lot of the red zone conversation for this Packers team is really kind of recency bias over the past 4 weeks. I think your red zone offense cuts in half when Malik Willis is out there. I don't think he has the ability to make some of the throws that Jordan Love does, or has the ability to stay in the pocket long enough like Jordan Love does in order to make some of these clutch red zone throws. A lot of what's happening in the red zone for wide receivers is improv. A lot of the times they run their route and then have to find those openings in the back of the end zone or in the corners of the end zone. And the quarterback has to be patient enough and it has to have the pocket awareness to move around in order to give those wide receivers time. I just don't think with Malik Willis at the helm, they have the time to do that, and they wanted to focus a lot more on the run. Yeah, they weren't fantastic in the red zone for a majority of the season, but they weren't nearly as bad as they were in the last 4 weeks, and a lot of people are freaking out over it because of the last 4 weeks.
Prisoners of the moment. You're right, Charlie.
Exactly. All right, we are going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we are going to keep talking about the Packers versus the Bears. We're going to get a little negative with the Green Bay Packers and what we think the death sentence could be for the Packers in this game against the Chicago Bears. I'm Charlie Houston. That's Jack Pembroke. We are Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. Welcome back into Wisconsin Sports Weekend. I'm Charlie Houston. That is Jack Pembroke over there. It's Packers Bears tonight on Amazon Prime, 7 p.m. Going to be a huge game, the biggest game of the NFL playoffs, in my opinion. If you guys would like to listen to more of the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network and you think Jack and I just aren't enough today, you like us, but you just want some more, you want your fix from the week, well, do not worry. Tonight, right after the game at 10 p.m. until midnight, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, Wisconsin Sports Daily, Josh Albrecht of Inside Wisconsin Sports will be live here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network for the Green Bay football post-game show presented by Lakeland University. It should be a fun one. Usually it's Tommy Wirtz, but they decided to let him go home for once. Usually he's sleeping here. Usually he's just hanging out in the studio. But they said, Tommy, get out of here, dude. We go home, go see your family or something. We feel like we've been keeping you away like a soldier at war or something. But he gets the night off. Josh Albrecht will fill in. He and Sparky will dive into everything that happens in the game tonight between Chicago and Green Bay. It should be an instant classic. Again, only the third time these teams are playing in the playoffs. And our guy Tim over in the chat said, I heard something interesting the other day. The Bears haven't won a game since Green Bay, and Green Bay hasn't won a game since they lost to Chicago. Is that correct? You are very correct there, Tim. This is kind of a crazy situation. Both these teams seem to just lose all their power after they beat each other. The Bears' 2 losses haven't looked nearly as bad as the Packers' 4 losses. They lost to, again, the 49ers, like we mentioned before, in a barn burner. And then this Lions game last week, yes, they did not look great, but still ended up only being a 3-point game at the end of it. The Packers have struggled without a lot of key players on the field, a lot of guys missing injury in Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, Zach Tom, a lot of players there. Jack, do you feel like that this is almost too late to turn around what's started to slide for the Packers here? Or maybe on the other side of things, do you think the Bears have started a bad slide for themselves with these 2 losses that kind of ends that hot streak they were on? Which one do you think that losing streak will affect the most?
So at this point, your football team doesn't worry about a losing streak. It's one and done, right? So I think for the Packers, what's important is they need to get that running game back and going, and Josh Jacobs needs to be the man that they paid him to be, which I think you and I both think he's going to have a game. I think on the other end, where it's defensive issues overall for the Bears, that's something a lot harder to just fix. You know, you can have a good run game in one game and kind of force that. It's hard to just be like, well, now all of a sudden we're going to be great on all facets of defense and not give up points. I think that's what you kind of alluded to when you're talking about the Niners losses. Yeah, they'll put up points, but they're also going to give up a lot of points.
Right, for sure. We wanted to dive into this question, why I bring up these losing streaks and what could potentially affect this game for both the Packers and the Bears. If you want to join the show, hit us up on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line, 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250, to get in on the show that way, or hit us up at WI Sports Radio on social media. We are live streaming on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. We are on there. We're also on YouTube, both at WI Sports Radio. You can also comment at us on any of our social medias. We'll try to respond that way as well. We are asking you, what's going to be the quote-unquote death sentence for the Green Bay Packers in this game if they were to lose? Jack, you don't really feel like it's the losing streak. You talked about the run game getting going here. Do you think health on the offensive line throughout this game could potentially be the death sentence for the Green Bay Packers?
Yeah. If Zach Tom goes in and he comes out with he's grabbing his back in the first quarter.
It happens almost every game that he's coming with some injury like this.
Your famous words all year, like what's new with Zach Tom?
Exactly.
I love Zach Tom. He's a warrior. He plays through, a lot of issues because we need him to. But if he goes down early, that's like losing Jordan Love early, honestly.
100%. And I think prior to this game, they're going to make it a game time decision for Zach Tom in this one. But prior to this game, the past couple of games, we've seen Jordan Morgan play pretty well at right tackle. The last game he played left tackle instead of right tackle, but the 2 games before that, he was playing right tackle. They traded for Darian Kennard from the Philadelphia Eagles before the season started, and he was initially supposed to be that backup tackle throughout the year. The reason Jordan Morgan got that right tackle work was because Darian Kennard was dealing with a neck injury of his own. Do you think going into this game, if Zach Tom can't play in this one, A, do you think it'll be Darian Kennard or Jordan Morgan that takes over that spot? And then B, do you think whoever it is, that is going to have a huge impact on this game, the fact that Tom isn't out there?
I think Jordan, if he can't go, Jordan Morgan's probably first man up.
Do you think he played well enough in these last? What is your assessment of his play in the last 3 games?
I'd give him a gentleman's B minus. Okay. You know, I feel like a gentleman's B minus is nice. Like the nuns at the Catholic school, you show up, you do your homework, you raise your hand 3 times a class, you know, you get the pat on the back. So I think he's shown me sparks, but nothing. He's got to have a complete game for me to start being like, oh, Jordan Morgan isn't a horrible first round draft pick. You know, sorry, Jordan, but I just need to see more, especially if he's going to have to be that role for us, the Zach Tom position. So, and then I guess I hope if he doesn't play well, you hope that Kennard can come in and fill that role.
Oh, 100%. I think Darian Kennard is a guy that in this game, and I'm with you, I think Jordan Morgan has earned his spot as that backup tackle. Darian Kennard just, again, hasn't been able to be on the field. And when he has been on the field, hasn't been very good. When he's been there filling in for Zach Tom at that right tackle spot, I think in this one, the one advantage that Darian Kennard does give you if he's out there is that he was on last year's Eagles team. He's been on the last few Eagles teams. He has playoff experience as a rotational offensive lineman.
Which is huge.
That's something that I think is going to matter in a game like this. And especially when you're playing against a defensive line like the Chicago Bears, which isn't going to give you the most trouble. I think it's something that you should be willing to go into this game and put that playoff experience to the side and say, you know what, Jordan Morgan has given us something that we didn't think we had at that backup tackle position. We've been trying to find a spot for him all season. We started at right guard, and then he got benched for Sean Ryan because he was just abysmal at right
musical
guard.
Chairs.
He was filling in at left guard occasionally when Aaron Banks was coming out of the games because he was injured for a while, and he may not even be fully healthy for this game, so we may have to see somebody fill in that position as well, which could be a whole different kind of struggle if he's not in this one. But Jordan Morgan has kind of found that role at the tackle positions, and last week at left tackle, I think he didn't play nearly as well as he did at right tackle, but I don't think he played atrociously. He was playing against the starting Vikings defense, which is a top 10, maybe even top 5 unit in the league when they are at full go with Brian Flores at the helm there. I think that in this game, if Jordan Morgan is going to be out there, the key for him is not giving up those big time, just kind of awful plays that I've seen.
Drive enders.
Exactly. Yeah. He has these moments where, again, he looks really great for a drive, and then he just whiffs and gives up like the biggest sack of the game, it feels.
It felt like in the last Bears game, the Packers are rolling, and then they I don't know if it was a screenplay, but it was some type of motion and a pass outside where there was movement, and it was maybe, you know, Jordan Love stepped up and he's already hit, and it's a 3rd and 18.
When it's his chance to make impact blocks, he has to make those impact blocks, and I feel like he just hasn't been able to do that. When he's not the focus on any given play, I think he's able to perform a lot better there. This is a game where making those impact blocks not only is going to help you win the game, but also for a guy like Jordan Morgan could cement your role on a spot in this offensive line if you have to come into this game. The other position that's struggling with injuries going into this game is the wide receiver group.
Yes.
Well, Melton goes on IR earlier in the week with this undisclosed knee injury, not an ACL, but something that's going to keep him out for the rest of the season. And then Dontavian Wicks, yesterday it was announced, and this was kind of expected, but was for sure announced that he will be out for this game as well, which really kind of leaves you to 4 wide receivers and then a couple practice squad guys that you're probably going to elevate here. You got Romeo Doubs, you have a Christian Watson, you got a Jaden Reed, and the last guy is Matthew Golden, number 4 there. Jack, what are your expectations for Matthew Golden filling in kind of a premier wide receiver spot in this moment in this game?
It all depends on how early and often he can do something for this team. Even if it's just skewing a play where it's like, okay, let's get an end around to him. Let's get a little dunk, a little outside, little Texas route or something. Get him going. He's proven on tape. He beats people in one-on-one coverage. It's just unfortunate that, like, look, the Packers, as much as people right now might feel like, oh my God, we took this guy in the first round and he hasn't scored a touchdown yet. Let me harken you back to Devontae Adams' first year in the league. People wanted.
Yeah, but I went back and forth with this with a caller on Wisconsin Sports Daily as well. Yes, Devontae Adams' first season in the league wasn't nearly as good, but it still got run. Like he still was out there. Or his first season actually was good. His second season was the season that was the bad one that he kind of reverted back a little bit. But he was out there getting targets still.
That's true.
He was out there being put in the offense and being given opportunities to fail. And that when he did fail, he was given opportunities to kind of pick himself back up and still be out there. Matthew Golden has 33 receptions on the season.
It's killer, man.
Christian Watson, his rookie year, had 66.
Yeah.
Like they were drafted in pretty identical spots almost. They were used in kind of similar roles or were expected to be used in kind of similar roles. And Matthew Golden just is not on the field. And I get it. The Packers just love resting the rookies and giving them time. But there are certain positions where I don't feel like you can do that. I think with Jordan Morgan, I think you might have screwed him by not just getting him into the offense sooner and trying to find a spot for him. With Matthew Golden, I'm kind of feeling the same way. A lot of first-round wide receivers, when we looked at the list of the guys that have 0 touchdowns as a first-round rookie wide receiver, it's not a very prestigious list. You got guys like Kevin White, you got guys like Kadarius Toney, who are all out of the league already and drafted not that long ago. This is a situation where I feel like if Matthew Golden was going to get going, he should have got going by now. In this game, if Matthew Golden does have that type of breakout game potentially, Jack, how do your expectations change for him next season? And then how quickly will you be disappointed next season if he isn't meeting those expectations?
I don't think you need a big breakout game from him, but I think I need to see, because now he's not kind of in the backlog of this huge wide receiver room, right? So I need to see him get at least 3 or 4 looks and do something with 2 or 3 receptions for like 30, 40 yards, maybe something in the red zone. I'm fine with if he just gives you a touchdown, because that's big. Those are going to be big points, those touchdowns. I don't think he has like 150 yard game. I think if you're in my boat where it's like, hey, let's see how he progresses, you're waiting on next year and seeing him maybe put more into the 3-man rotation of this offense. It's just, he's been the 4th receiver all year, basically at best.
Well, at best. And when they've had injuries and stuff, he still doesn't seem like he gets into those games. And it's just, again, strange to me. I think at quarterback, you can wait a little bit longer, I guess. I think some defensive line positions you can wait a little bit, especially with like edge rusher. Some guys will just have breakout seasons eventually, and you can give them time. I think wide receiver at this point, there's a couple guys that I think have proven over the past few years, if you're going to be a first-round talent, you do it right away, and you can perform at some point. Guys in his own draft class, Egbuka started the season really well. Ted McMillan finished the season really well. They've shown those flashes. I just haven't seen that flash yet, and that worries me.
The only thing that I'm holding to is Steve Smith, who is one of my favorite wide receivers ever, thinks that Matthew Golden has the it factors to be good in this league. So my hope is we see a lot more of Matthew Golden next year. I hope he can help us in this game. I don't expect him to be the number 1 wide receiver.
All right, for sure. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend. That's Jack Pembroke. I'm Charlie Houston, and we are live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street for the past 25 years. That's pretty dang cool. We will be right back. When we come back, we're going to dive into the rest of the NFL playoff bracket and give you guys a little bit of a preview of those games. Again, I'm Charlie Houston. That's Jack Pembroke. We'll be right back. Welcome back into Wisconsin Sports Weekend. I'm Charlie Houston. That's Jack Pembroke over there. And we are live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sports Book. And we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. They've been there for 25 years. That's a pretty cool thing. Congrats to them on the big anniversary. I was going to respond to this guy in the YouTube chat, but I guess he just decides he wants to hop on the phone lines today. Q on the north side. How you doing today, Q?
I'm good, see you. Today is the day. This is Judgment Day.
All right.
And it's not Judgment Day for my Packers, sir. It is Judgment Day for your Bears organization.
All right.
They haven't had a meaningful game since Jay Cutler. It has been a hot minute. So, and I appreciate you. You are calm, cool, and collected at all times.
I try to be.
So, but I have many Bears fans in my life that are not. They win every single offseason, and win, lose, or draw. For some reason, they think they have the Packers number. But I know for a fact, deep down inside, Charlie, that you're a little nervous about today.
I'm not a little nervous, Q. I'm kind of a lot of bit nervous, if I'm being completely honest. I feel like I've been pretty open about that. I picked the Packers yesterday on Wisconsin Sports Daily, and I think I've been pretty open about that too. I feel like for a lot of Bears fans, it's either like you're saying you have this overconfidence, or there's the other half that are all doomers. They're just saying this is all fake. It's just 2018 all over again. And also, by the way, since Jay Cutler, come on, Mitch Trubisky had some winning seasons. He was a Pro Bowler, MVP.
I'm with Q.
A Pro Bowl MVP, they have those?
No, a Pro Bowler and an MVP. He was both those things.
Yes,
MVP, exactly. 2 times now, actually. He won it last week, too.
Charlie's bringing out the deep cuts with the Nickelodeon MVP.
But Q, what is your final prediction? You said 3 scores in the chat when Jack just said by 3. What is your final prediction for this game?
I think we win by 3 scores. I think it all catches up. It's karma day for Bears fans, and this is 2024 Vikings all over again. And that's not to take away from the success you all had this season, but it's very hard to overcome the playoff experience that the Packers have we've received, but it's been in the worst kind of way.
For sure.
So, and this young roster is finally gonna get one on us. But this is our Super Bowl today. Like, we're not going to go past today. If you guys beat us, you might, but this is kind of it. So either way, hoping for a good game tonight, and thanks for all the great content this season, guys.
Of course. Thanks for hopping on, Q. Don't be a stranger on the phone line. I know you're hanging out on the YouTube chat, but call more here.
Yeah, I know. I'm usually doing chores, but for game day, I got to call in.
Fair enough. All right.
Thanks, Q.
All right.
There he is, Q on the north side. Be like you, call in 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250, to get in on the Nicolay Law Talk and text line. I mean, I think he's the most positive Packers fan I've heard so far. Like, when I was talking about people being overconfident versus doomers with the Bears fans, I feel like I've heard a lot more doomer Packers fans lately.
I love Q. He great guy in real life too, but I feel like when he says stuff like that, it's like Sparky saying that the Packers are going to dominate. I get worried. I do not think it's going to be by 3 touchdowns, but I think it's going to be like 3 to 6 points will win.
All right, fair enough. I said this yesterday too. I really am not going to be surprised at whatever the outcome of this game is. That's how open I feel like this game's going to be. Whether it's a Bears win by a close one, or the Packers win by a close one, or the Bears blow out the Packers, or the Packers go and blow out, or the Packers blow out the Bears. I really am not going to be surprised. And Sparky said, I'm going to be surprised whether it's a blowout or not. I don't think so. I think one of these two teams, it very easily could have the number of the other team.
Charlie, we just need a close game. I want an instant classic. If the Packers are going to lose this game, I do not want to get blown out. I do not want to sit there and watch it with Bears fans and have to just live in that stew.
That's fair. I was talking with Brandon Snide. He produces 9 to Noon with John Kuhn right here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. And he was saying he's such a weird person too, because he hates close games. He says he stresses out if they lose. He eats a ton. He goes to his favorite fast food restaurant.
Yeah.
He is just beside himself. He said, I want this game to be a blowout. Either way, it doesn't matter whether it's Packers or Bears losing. I want it to be a blowout just so that I'm not stressed out. I don't have to worry about this game.
No.
Brandon, for your sake, I hope it's not a blowout. I hope it goes to overtime again, baby. I hope it's a last-second play. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. Got one more hour still, so stay tuned. When we come back, going to dive into some of our Packers, Bears, Warlocks, Locks, and the Wisconsin Sports Weekend pub crawl.
hit the shower, grab your coffee, and get ready to attack the weekend with Charlie Usen and Jack Pembroke as they catch you up on everything Wisconsin sports you may have missed this past week. All before you even finish your breakfast. It's Wisconsin Sports Weekend, brought to you by the Apollo Cafe on Brady Street. 25 years of Greek tradition. Enjoy gyros, souvlaki, fresh salads, and the legendary Zeus Burger. Dine in, take out, or get it delivered. Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
How we doing, folks? How we doing? Like the big voice lady just said, I'm Charlie Usen. That's Jack Pembroke, and we are Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, right there on historic Brady Street for the past 25 years. Congrats to them out there. Go check them out. Again, Apollo Cafe on historic Brady Street. We are in the second hour of Wisconsin Sports Weekend. If you missed any of the first, do not fret. You can head back at WI Sports Radio on any of the social medias, but Twitter and YouTube specifically, to rewind the live stream that we're doing on there, where you can see Jack's beautiful face, my ugly mug over here, and you can watch us that way as well if you missed any of the first hour, or at wisportsradio.com. You can hit us up on there, where all the shows go up in full podcast form. You can find them that way as well. We are Packers Bears heavy on this beautiful Saturday. Snow falling out here in Hales Corners, by us at least. I don't know how the snow's looking all across the rest of the state, whether it's snowing in Chicago as well, where this game is taking place. But it's been a lot of fun just kind of watching and prepping, seeing how people are talking about the Green Bay Packers in our dugout chat over here. Our guy Tim is just fired up over this game. He says, my prediction, 28-24 Packers. The Pack will score the go-ahead with about 3 or 4 minutes in Chicago. Well, you know what happens. Love you, Charlie. So excited. It's so excited. Tim, I got to ask you one question. This is going to dive into our next topic here on Wisconsin Sports Weekend. Who's scoring that go-ahead touchdown for the Green Bay Packers? We wanted to ask you, who is going to be the surprise hero of this game for Green Bay? Hit us up on the Nicolay Law Talking Text Line, 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250, 1250 to get in on the show that way. Or like I mentioned before, WI Sports Radio on any social medias, but specifically Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. And on YouTube, where we are live streaming on there. You can get in on the dugout chat that way. Jack, I'm going to start over there with you. Let's go with Tim's scenario that he put out there. The go-ahead touchdown with 3 to 4 minutes left. Who in your mind is going to be the guys whose number gets called in that situation?
It could be one of two things. You either have a great broken coverage with Christian Watson for like a 30 or 40-yard touch pass down the seam by Love, or we get a pass that gets us onto the 10 or the 15-yard line, and then we just crunch it with Jacobs in a clock-killing, game-ending rushing touchdown. That's kind of how I see it playing out.
All right, I'd be cool with that. We were talking about yesterday, Sparky was putting together his Prize Picks lineup, and in that lineup, he brought up Jordan Love scoring 2.5 plus touchdowns, or more than 2.5 touchdowns in that situation. And I said, you know what? I don't know if I'm 100% confident in that. What I am confident is or it was 1.5 touchdowns, excuse me. What I am confident in is Josh Jacobs is going to score 1.5 more touchdowns. I think he can go out there and score 2 touchdowns in this game pretty easily. I think they're going to use him in a lot of these red zone situations that they struggled in, especially against the Chicago Bears, and try to use him in kind of creative ways too, by getting him the ball in these clutch moments in the red zone through the air. I think that's going to be a huge part of this. Nick in the dugout chat says Christian Watson. Jack, Christian Watson has been a guy that's been a key piece of this offense since he's come back from the season-ending injury last season. He's also dealt with a few injuries in this game as well. I want to ask you, what do you think his amount of or percentage of play he's going to get within this offense in this game, especially if it's going to be a run-heavy approach? And then B, do you think a heavy workload for a guy like Christian Watson could maybe be detrimental almost to him by the end of this game?
I still think he'll get his looks. I still think even if it's a run heavy game, he's going to get 7 or 8 targets, and do with that as you please. In a game like this, a wide receiver with his type of speed, you only need one broken coverage play to put up a bomb of a touchdown, and that could be his day, like one catch for 40 yards and a touchdown.
We've seen it this season, yeah, a couple times in that one. Let's head back over to the chat. Nate over there says, your mug isn't ugly, Charlie, but that hat sure is. That's fair. That's fair. I do love this hat, though, so I'm going to keep rocking it, Nate. I'm sorry. He also says Matthew Golden game-winning touchdown going to hit hard. Oh, that'd be so cool. That'd be the perfect way to get a lot of people to shut up, get off his back a little bit, including me, somebody who isn't that, I guess, faithful in a guy like Matthew Golden so far from what he's done this season. Tim responds back to me. He says, number 11, Jaden Reed is a guy you can see falling out in this game. Jack, Jaden Reed, what are your expectations for him, especially in the red zone? I talked about Josh Jacobs being used in the pass game, but how creative can they get with Jaden Reed in the red zone?
I think a lot of the ways he will be used is how people hope Matthew Golden will be used in this game. I think Jaden Reed will be the under out guy, those little shallow crosses, those little outs. We already talked about how loves to hit those out. So Jaden Reed might be a sneaky Potawatomi play.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool. Let's head on over to the Nicolay Law Talk and text line 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250, where my guy CB in downtown Milwaukee is on the line. CB, how you feeling about this game tonight, my man?
I'm feeling about it pretty good, man. I think the overall, I think the defense gonna step up. I think they're gonna have a good, decent game. I got another thing for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
You guys probably can answer it, maybe getting close to the end of the show. But you know how things come in threes, right?
Yep.
So,
Oh yeah.
So check this out. Sullivan went to Miami. Hafley go to Miami. Rashawn Gary go to Miami. What y'all think about that?
Okay.
You know what? Rashawn Gary has been a guy that's been really polarizing this season. The first half of the year, he looked like he was going to be that perfect counterpart to Micah Parsons. And then in the second half of the year, a lot of people are saying, after Micah got hurt, Rashawn Gary wasn't doing well. For 3 to 4 games before that, he wasn't doing anything in the first place.
He was on a milk carton, CB.
Exactly.
Not at all. He wasn't doing that at all. But I think it's going to go in 3. I think Hafley and Gary going to go over to Miami because Sullivan went over there. So
what about Malik Willis in Miami, CB? Do you think that could be something that could end up there too?
Sullivan ain't crazy. Like I said, he will steal some of the Packer players. He will do that. So
all right.
Thanks, guys.
Of course. Thanks for calling in, CB. Don't be a stranger, my man.
Okay.
Awesome. There he is, CB in downtown. Be like CB. Get on the Nicolay Law Talk and text line 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250. Nate puts back in the chat as well in the dugout on YouTube at WI Sports Radio. He says, could see Reed getting the most receptions with Watson having the most yards. I want to count out Romeo Doubs too fast. I feel like a lot of people are saying everybody else that's been kind of a part of this offense throughout the season besides a Romeo Doubs in situations where the Green Bay Packers have lost maybe a wide receiver to an injury or they've had some other kind of big changes. You know who Jordan Love has kind of relied on in those games? It's been Romeo Doubs. And the other thing I noticed a lot over the course of the past 3 weeks or so, especially with Malik Willis out there, one of the first plays of their first couple of drives has always been that deep shot to Romeo Doubs down the sideline. Jack, do you think that's a play that you could see them run with Jordan Love as well? And then how much do you think Jordan Love relies on a guy like Romeo Doubs, who has been that little bit of a safety net for him in the past?
All great points, Charlie. He has been a security blanket. And I think it's apt of, our listeners to bring that up because he did have such a bad last 2-minute performance in that last game. Wouldn't it be kind of, straight out of a Hollywood script for Romeo Doubs to just go off against the Bears and win in fashion like that, where he kind of gets to baptize himself from that second ugly game against the Bears? That'd be beautiful. I like that.
Well, and I think if Romeo Doubs goes off in this game too, it also kind of has this aura of what the Packers, I think, have been trying to sell this whole season, where they are the calm, cool, collected team. That's who Jordan Love is. It's this guy that's never going to show a whole lot of emotion. but it just looks like a football player and looks like he's got a command of who he is as a football player. Matt LaFleur isn't a guy that's going to go out there and show you a whole lot of emotion besides yelling at the ref occasionally. But when he's in his press conferences, he doesn't give super long answers. He doesn't get fired up. He's not going to take shots at the other team. I think Romeo Doubs embodies a lot of that, and he goes out there and beats this team. I think that sends a message to the Bears fans, to the Packers fans that says we are here and we are doing business. This isn't what Ben Johnson and some of these other Chicago Bears players have made it, where it's, oh, we just want to take them down. We just want to fight them. We're going in here and we're going to work and we're going to show you that's what we're going to do. And then that next season, and I kind of agree with Q, even if they beat the Chicago Bears, I don't think the Packers can get very far. I just don't think they have enough health. I don't think their depth in a lot of positions are going to be able to carry them. I think this is a game where you could go out there and prove for next season that's who you want your identity to be.
I think you're 100% correct. I've got a quick question for you, Charlie. Sure. Do you think that there's an extra and the reason Packers fans are feeling so confident in not quietly confident, let's say, not overtly confident, but it's because Matt LaFleur kind of has to, like you said, have a prove it game for next year now.
I think so. And I think that my opinion on that has changed a little bit for Matt LaFleur, I guess, over the course of the past week, especially the way you keep hearing reports come out of the Green Bay Packers about their plans for Matt LaFleur. Before the show, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer sent me an article from ESPN talking about how the Packers plan on having a meeting with Matt LaFleur directly after the season, and both sides are extremely hopeful that they can come to some kind of agreement. So it looks like that they are trending in the right direction. But I also think if you go out and get blown out by the Chicago Bears with a mostly healthy offense, you lose the 5 straight games at the end of the season here. And then the way the season ended last year as well, where it was also kind of a stumble walking backwards into the playoffs and then not getting very far with that as well. I think that could be a conversation that is going to be tough moving forward here, especially if they lose this game. I do feel like it's a little bit of a prove it game, but also at the same time, I know what Matt LaFleur can be when given the right pieces around him. He's coached a 2-time MVP in his time with Aaron Rodgers. He was a 2-time MVP. He won plenty more before that, but just with Matt LaFleur. With Jordan Love, he worked him up from a guy that was honestly an unknown, a risky pick where they took him, and he worked him into a Pro Bowl caliber top 5 starting quarterback in the NFL when he is healthy. Now that's something that has to remain kind of a question mark for Jordan Love at this point, just because he didn't finish the season here for this team and couldn't remain in that conversation. But I think Matt LaFleur has done a lot of great things. And if given some time for Brian Gutekunst to kind of reset this offense and fit the identity that they're starting to lean into, I think Matt LaFleur can figure this out. I think if he wins this game, I think he's completely safe. I don't think there's any question about it. I think losing this game, it's kind of more of like a 60% safe, 40% chance that he's out as the Packers head coach.
So Tim says MLF has to have a good game, and then Q chimes in with 100% MLF has to win. It is a must win, as must wins get for MLF. If he doesn't bring it, he's out. But luckily for MLF, he's playing the Bears. LOL. Sorry, again, Charlie.
It's all right. I don't know. Q's going to keep picking on me. Tim picks on me a little bit in the chat too. Everybody just wants to pick on me. That's fine. That's what I've dealt with it for 24 years of my life, guys. You can't get to me. You can't get to me. But I think that going into this game, I think Q kind of has a point with he's playing the Bears. He knows the Bears. He's dominated the Bears his entire career as the Packers head coach. I know Ben Johnson is a different style of play caller than we've seen, but now he's seen him twice as the Bears head coach. I think this is a situation where he probably has the upper hand, despite Ben Johnson maybe having more to work with. They haven't seen Rome Odunze, the Packers, in like full out in this game plan yet. They haven't really seen the Bears go in with this 2 tight end attack that they've been running the past couple of weeks that led to Colston Loveland becoming their leading receiver at the end of the season, even though he was, again, that's another guy comparing to Matthew Golden where he just found that groove. You haven't seen that with Matthew Golden.
No, you're right.
But Colston Loveland found that groove at the end of the season and became the leading receiver for the Chicago Bears by the end of the year. Same with Luther Burden. So if they're a healthy offense, you also just can't count out the Chicago Bears. But the fact that you have the experience that you do over them, I think really does benefit you.
I agree with that, Charlie. The thing that kind of scares me, though, as a Packer fan, that not scares me, but concerns me in the back of my head is, as we're talking about, the Packers are going to win in a close one, is their ability to stop Caleb Williams outside the pocket. That's where we're going to get killed on third downs, I think, and it'll be a long game if we're not able to get out of 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6.
for sure. And I think that first game against the Chicago Bears this season, they did a really good job at getting to Caleb at first, but then just couldn't wrap him up, and he would sneak out and be able to tire them out. And they had this game plan of making Micah Parsons basically run across the entire field every play, and it worked. It got him tired out. It got the defense tired out. It worked out well for them in that game. And then the second game, in that one, they ran a little bit of a different approach, and the interior offensive line for the Chicago Bears got a lot more intense. They were running a lot more of these duo block schemes and play action type of schemes in order to get the defense away from him. That way, I think they're probably going to lean more into that style of offense, despite Micah Parsons not being out there. And I think this is a situation where, again, if the Green Bay Packers can just contain Caleb Williams like you're talking about, I think that's going to be huge for the team. But do they have the talent to go out there and do that? That's the question. Jack, defensively, if you had to pick one player that you think is going to be a hero of this game, who do you think stands out in your mind?
It's got to be, for me, Edgerrin Cooper. I need to see Edgerrin Cooper take that next step and tell me, hey, we don't have a Micah. Okay, boys, I'm going to put it on my back. I'm the captain now moment. You know, I need to see a Tom Hanks acting type moment from Edgerrin Cooper. I call him Baby Ray Lewis for a reason. He needs to show me that he's growing up a little bit and ready to be a game wrecker, because we need someone to do it, and it's not going to be Rashawn Gary. It's not going to be Quay Walker. So either him, and then maybe honorable mention, I'd say Keyshawn Nixon. I need to see a good game out of him.
Do you think in this season so far, in the two games that they've played against the Chicago Bears, we've seen Jekyll and Hyde with Keyshawn Nixon. In the first game, you saw him make a ton of great plays, really instinctive plays that made him look like he deserved to be a top 3 corner on this Packers team. And then in the third game, he was lost. He had multiple plays, especially against the Broncos as well, the week before, those two games combined, he just wasn't able to stay in coverage. What version of Keyshawn Nixon are you expecting in this game?
Well,
which one do you want? Which one are you expecting?
Yeah, that version that we got the last two games was, I think, quarterback ratings were like 150 plus.
Yeah, I think against the Broncos, he gave up a 158.3, and against the Bears, it was like a 146.7.
Yeah, that's ungood, as the kids say.
158.3 is perfect, by the way, in case you didn't know.
Yeah. So that's not good at all. Like you said, who are the guy we're getting, not who the guy I'm hoping for. I think we're gonna get a rested version of him and a more rested defense. So you're not gonna see him on an island all the time alone in this game. It does concern me that Odunze is going to be healthy, and we haven't. Your great point. We have not. That defense has not had to contain him and deal with him,
right?
And that could be disastrous if we get the 158.3 QB rating version of Keyshawn Nixon. I think Nixon just needs to stay at home and play within himself. Don't force things, because as soon as he starts to force things, then we're going to get beat. And then Charlie will be talking next week about the Bears playing someone else.
All right, for sure. Q over there in the YouTube chat, first of all, says he's going to leave me a big tip at Raised Grain if the Bears win. I'm holding you to that, Q. I will be there next weekend, like I'm there every weekend. I'm there the next couple of days too. So, it's just how it goes. But he also says you all need a segment called What Chores Are You Doing?, where listeners share their Saturday morning task during the show. I think that's a great idea. Man, that'd be fun. We should have that.
Q's got to start texting us these ideas so they don't see that it's his ideas coming in.
Oh, you just want to steal his ideas. I'd give Q credit.
We'll give Q credit.
All right.
Free shirts for Q.
Third co-host.
Yeah, he is.
All right. It is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. And they've been there for 25 years. So go check them out, because not many people stick around that long. So that's pretty cool.
Especially in the food business, man.
Exactly. Again, this is Wisconsin Sports Weekend. I'm Charlie Houston. That's Jack Pembroke. While we are in break here, tell us what chores you're doing. Q's already over there. He says, today I'm reinstalling the toilets. He's over there helping out. Oh, and then Nate says, Q reinstalling a Jay Cutler. You know what? I don't want to talk to you guys anymore.
He's blocking them.
How we doing, folks? How we doing? I'm Charlie Houston. That's Jack Pembroke over there, and we are Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar of flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. Let's switch that out a little bit. I found a new one. Mystic Celtic Winter Cottages, Jack.
Look at you. You're ready to visit Ireland and visit all the Pembrokes over there.
That's what I'm saying. It's snowing out. You got like these cool castles and stuff going on the screen over here. It's pretty sick. The mystical, magical Winter Cottages music means it is time for Warlocks Locks here on Wisconsin Sports Weekend, where my guy over there, the Wisconsin Warlock, Jack Pembroke, usually dives into his magic cheesehead, but today we are going to let it lead to the side because we got more important fish to fry here, Jack.
Very important.
Packers, Bears. Usually we go and draw the cards, and Jack gives his prediction. Next week we'll dive back into basketball, maybe some college basketball. I bet I could find some college basketball cards. I know you're a big fan of college basketball.
Love it.
So we can figure that out as well. But this week we're just going to stick with Packers, Bears. Jack's going to pick 2 Packers, 2 Bears, 1 offense, 1 defense from both teams, and give us a quick prediction for those players, and we'll break it down for you. Jack, let's start with the Packers players that you had picked. What are you going with?
All right, just off the top of the head, I love when our listeners were talking Jaden Reed. So let's go with the Jaden Reed stat line.
Okay.
I feel like you could say Dubs or Jaden Reed, but let's go Reed. I think Reed gets us maybe over half a touchdown. I think that might get a sneaky touchdown, but 4 receptions for over 40 yards. That'd be a nice little stat line for me.
Do you think that is the stat line we should expect from all the Packers receivers? That same kind of range where they're all going to be kind of lower 4 receptions type of? Do you think somebody's going to kind of break out from that?
I think someone gets one big breakout play, but I think just the way the weather's going to be and just the conditions, you got to understand that they're not going to be zinging the ball out there. You know, it's going to be short yardage throws, maybe 1 broken play. So if you're running running backs on daily fantasy versus wide receivers on the Packers.
The Packers have a tendency to run these end around type of plays, and weather like this, do you think that's something you can see Jaden Reed also getting some touches?
Yes. That's he's a little extra focus on Jaden Reed maybe for some wrinkles, you know?
For sure. Awesome. Jack, who is your defensive player you're keying in on for the Packers?
Well, I mentioned Edgerrin Cooper, and if I wasn't so worried about Keyshawn Nixon, I'd predict that type of stat line. But we're going to go with Edgerrin Cooper because I don't trust Rashawn Gary or Quay Walker to show up off that milk carton. So Edgerrin Cooper, 1.5 tackles for a loss, and maybe 5 total tackles today, and a pass breakup.
Do you see a sack at all? Do you see them blitzing Caleb Williams with Edgerrin Cooper? Or do you think Jeff Hadley kind of backs away from pressuring Caleb like that?
Maybe like a protection sack.
Okay.
You know, where that's why I said 1.5 tackles for a loss. Maybe he gets a half sack.
So in a protection sack, if it's Edgerrin Cooper getting that sack, that usually would denote the fact that he'd be like a QB spy. Do you see him doing that in this game for a majority?
That's like the way I envision in my head is there's a rollout, there's a broken play on a 3rd down, and he's following Caleb Williams all along that 3rd down line, and he somehow gets in the backfield. You know,
all right.
Bad footing at that stadium you guys have there.
Yeah, I know they were talking about how awful the field was with Matt LaFleur. Shut up, man. Every NFL field's awful. I'm over that. I mean, if the NFL's not going to fix it, then stop complaining about it.
Yeah, we got billionaires, though. There should be some uniformity.
There should be some changes made, but at the same time, for people to like ask about it in press conferences all the time, man, it's hard to get your footing on any kind of like playing surface, if we're being honest, especially moving and cutting the way these players are. I mean, you're going to lose your grip. Sometimes guys are going to get hurt. It's not all on the field.
Both got to play on the same field, Charlie.
Exactly. Jack, let's head over to the Chicago Bears and your offensive player for the Chicago Bears.
If the Bears win, it'll be Kyle Monangai.
Okay.
If the Bears have a close one but lose, I'd say either Roma Dunze or a Loveland or Komet. So one of those, that wide receiver that he loves, Rome, or one of his security blanket tight ends.
You've been one of the bigger believers in a Kyle Monangai in that Bears offense since he started getting more snaps there. in this game, what do you think the snap breakdown is going to be between him and DeAndre Swift, the other running back, and who do you think is going to make more of their carries?
I love this question for a Ben Johnson offense because with Detroit, you would see that 50-50 type with Gibbs and Montgomery. But I think it's the hot hand here. And he's shown that whether he was a Detroit offensive coordinator, he goes with who he feels is the hot hand right now. And you got to feel like Kyle Monangai has at least made it close enough to be 50-50 in touches with DeAndre Swift. I think first quarter you see Swift, and if Swift isn't getting it done, then they go to Monangai.
So I'm going to sidebar here real quick to another NFC North team because you brought him up. David Montgomery apparently is not for sure going to be coming back to the Detroit Lions. He's going to be done. Do you think Jahmyr Gibbs can handle that workload on his own, or do you think they're going to bring in another similar style?
The league is you have to bring in someone to help your guy not get banged up. There's no more Adrian Peterson's 40 touches a game. It just doesn't happen anymore. There's not that type of Balco syringes for people. So you're going to see another bruiser come in that can give him, maybe it's a guy from a mid-major conference, but a bigger back who can give you short yardage play and let Jahmyr still be the great versatile athlete and Swiss Army knife that he is.
So let's head on over to the Chicago Bears defense. If you guys are not as familiar, I know a lot of people refer to defenses as groups, but the Bears have guys like Kyler Gordon coming back this week, one of their star cornerbacks. He's usually a slot guy. Jalen Johnson has been back for a few weeks now, hasn't performed up to snuff compared to what you expected from him. Kevin Byard has been a turnover machine all season, but in the second half has slowed down a little bit. His counterpart, Jaquan Brisker, at the other safety position, has been up and down throughout the season. And their middle linebackers are a couple of their star players. Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards have been staples of that defense when they're able to stay healthy. Again, like a lot of guys on that team. Jack, defensively for the Chicago Bears, what is a player that you feel pretty confident about calling their stat line?
I'm kind of afraid of a Johnson or any of their healthy DBs because we haven't had to face them with a lot of health.
Right.
And they do have some quietly, I wouldn't say people that you're like, oh, that's a top DB, but they're an opportunistic defense. And as a core, the secondary can get chippy on you and they can start to get picks and fumbles and bunches. And that would spell disaster early for the Packers because I just feel whoever gets the first turnover is winning this game.
Jack, you got a question from the crowd asking the Wisconsin Warlock, can we get a few rapid fire daily fantasy picks just for the rest of Wild Card Weekend? Are there any of these other games that you're looking
like DFS?
Yeah.
I just head to head. I kind of like I don't know if they're underdogs, but the Bills over Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, some people.
They are currently underdogs. Jacksonville is favored in that game by 1.5 right now.
You can't go against one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL.
In that one, James Cook is the leading running back in the NFL. Josh Allen is a consistent MVP candidate. What are your expectations for those two players in that game if you're picking the Bills?
I think Cook, if they're going to win, Cook's got to have at least 5 receptions and at least over 40 reception yards. And he's got to give you a chance at a rushing touchdown and a reception touchdown because I just haven't seen the consistency. They're a team that thrives off throwing to the running back and the tight end. We've been waiting in fantasy for them to pick. You luckily had Khalil Shakir on your bench, but that was every other week, you didn't see what you're getting. I just think it's going to be a playoff game where both defenses aren't horrible. But it's whose running back has the best game in that game. Travis Etienne on Jacksonville or Cook. I don't want to bet against the Bills and their quarterback and running back combo. I think Trevor Lawrence showed us a lot this year, but he's not ready to get over anyone right now in the playoffs. I really like that Niners game.
If you had to pick a player there. So I'm going to give you 3 quick players here before we go to break here. No, it's fine. I like where you're going with this, with the Niners game. 3 quick players, say more or less. I'm not even going to tell you. We're not going to look at the lines or anything. Just more or less on the rushing yards, passing yards, whatever you think. So let's start with that 49ers-Eagles game over there. For the 49ers, Brock Purdy, more or less on his passing yards. He's probably sitting at about like a 225 would be my guess. Where are you going with that?
It's the playoffs and they have to win, so I'm going over.
All right.
225, yeah.
Let's go on the other sideline. Saquon Barkley, more or less on rushing yards.
He's been so inconsistent, man. If I hate to lose people money, so if I'm putting your money or my fake shekels on this, I just don't. He's not a hot flavor this week for the Warlock. I don't know. Maybe he shows me I'm wrong, but I think I would be betting my money or over unders on AJ Brown or Jalen Hurts for rushing or receiving stuff. I sometimes you get scared, and Saquon Barkley's been too inconsistent for me.
Fair enough. And one last one real quick. Bryce Young, the Carolina Panthers versus the LA Rams.
Man, he's got a chance to – they've beaten them before at LA. I think Bryce Young, to get him going, he could easily go over 210 passing yards. But for them to get the win, they're going to have to give him a run game that gives him consistency against an LA Rams team.
For sure. There you have it. That has been the Warlocks Locks, a special playoff edition of said segment. Next week, we'll get back to diving into the cards, pull some basketball cards maybe for you guys, and dive back into that world as we get closer to the All-Star break and the trade deadline. But next up, we have the Wisconsin Sports Weekend Pub Crawl. We're going to break down the college football playoffs for you guys. We're going to talk about the all-pro teams and some other great stuff. Sometimes Jack likes to dive into science and get a little bit Dr. Pembroke over there. I like that. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Bray Street for the past 25 years. That's pretty cool. Next up, it's time to crawl. That doesn't sound quite right. I don't know, Jack. I think. Oh, there we go. There we go.
That's it. That'll do.
That'll do it. This is Wisconsin Sports Weekend, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm Charlie Houston. That is Jack Pembroke over there behind the glass, and we are presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street. This is the Wisconsin Sports Weekend Pub Crawl. If you guys are not familiar with this segment or are brand new to the show and just tuning in for the first time, do not worry. I'll explain it to you real quick. Jack and I go back and forth sharing some of our favorite topics that we may have missed here on the show, that you may have missed from this past week in the world of sports. A lot of big-time stories happening this week, but first, let's head over to the college football playoffs to talk about that game that happened yesterday, or I guess practice for Indiana, basically at that point. Was not close. They beat the Oregon Ducks 56-22 to send Indiana to the national championship. Fernando Mendoza, I believe, is the first Heisman quarterback since they brought up like the 4-team format and beyond to be playing and starting for his team in the national championship.
I've got a nickname for him that I decided last night. He reminds me of a spicy Kirk Cousins. Okay. So Caliente Kirk Cousins.
Okay, I like
Caliente
that.
Kirk.
I like that. Jack, in that game, did you expect it to be as big of a blowout as it ended up being for Indiana in that one?
Look, someone asked me before the game last night on text, hey, who should I put my money on, Jack? And I said, well, it's your money, but I'll help you out. I said, I honestly think at all three facets of the game, Indiana is a more complete team. Got a great running back, great offensive line. You know this, Charlie, as an offensive lineman. The big boys up front keep your butts off the ground and they put the points on the board. They might not be the sexiest athletes out there, but they do all the dirty work. They've got some big boys in those trenches. And I thought it wouldn't be a complete blowout, but I thought 31-17 type game.
I think the other thing people are neglecting a little bit too, and you saw this versus Texas Tech as well. For 3 quarters, Oregon didn't really score. They're really cementing their team on that defense, and then Dante Moore on offense has to go out there and do everything he can to keep that team alive. I think he's a stud. I just think the rest of that offense wasn't built to succeed or wasn't healthy enough to succeed against an Indiana team that is just a juggernaut.
They didn't show up, and all the little things that matter, little mistakes just kept piling up, and you can't give them the ball on the 5-yard line, Charlie.
100%. You can't keep just making those same mistakes, especially when right before that, you got a big impact play to turn that around to get you onto that drive that brought it to the goal line, and then you lose it on the goal line. You just can't do that. In the other college football playoff game, my Miami Hurricanes, if you didn't know, I'm a big Hurricane fan as well, so I'm super excited to see them make that next jump to the national championship with a win over Ole Miss. This game was much closer. It came down to the wire. This is one where Miami, just like all season, has been able to come out in the clutch and be able to perform. I think a lot of people gave them a lot of garbage for losing to Louisville earlier on in the season, or a Virginia. Teams like that ended up having really good seasons too. I think both those teams ended up going 8-4, and people were just not buying into Miami. This is a good football team that I think a lot of people discounted because they're that 10 seed, but they've played through this college football playoff, look like one of the best teams in the country like they were at the beginning of the year. Now they run into that powerhouse that is Indiana that we've been talking about. Jack, what are your expectations for that game?
So what I noticed, and you might have noticed this too, because you're a big, Charlie U himself is a big U guy. When they're in trouble, Miami goes to that bubble screen to Tony. That's what they live off of. They live off that little
Dude
bubble
was
screen.
born in 2007, Jack.
Wow, man.
He's 18 years old.
Wow, he's so fast. As a guy with a track background, I just marvel at how easily he splits defenders. There's track speed and then there's pad speed, but man, he's got track speed and pads. I think if Indiana's able to run the ball and slow down Miami, they're not going to be able to beat them with little screen plays. They're a team where in the past, Big Ten teams haven't been great with east-west movement. They can get on all sides of the ball and they're fast. I think it'll be a good game, but I don't think Miami has the firepower to win this.
Fair enough. Q over there in the chat says, why do you like Miami CU? Q, I don't know if you know this, I'm also a huge movie fan. I love movies. I watch them like one per day. I also really like documentaries. I eventually want to get into documentary work at some point in my life. growing up, like when I was about 7 or 8, I saw the 30 for 30s about the U part 1 and part 2, and I just fell in love with the team. I loved the vibe that they had, especially in those old school teams, and then also just the way the documentaries were made. It just, again, I loved it. I watch them all the time still. I have ESPN Plus solely for the 30 for 30s. It's like the only reason I still subscribe to that. Those ones were my favorite, and I didn't look back. So I'm a big Miami fan. I still like the Badgers. I still cheer on the Badgers, but Miami's my go-to. Jack, what do you got first on your side of the pub crawl over there, boss?
Okay, you might have heard us mention it a couple times, but it's a place that's near and dear to my heart. It's also my cousin and my uncle run it. They've done it for 25 years. It's not easy to do anything for 25 years, especially a food business on Brady Street. But congratulations to Apollo Cafe. They've got cool new shirts and a new logo to commemorate the 25th anniversary. And you can go and get yourself, there's 2 different colors. I heard through a little bird, we might be getting one. Yeah, I know. We'll put it up here somewhere. But
they got hats?
We need to get them on hats. We need to get them
That's
on corduroy
favorite.
hats.
That's
Corduroy hats.
With the fishing rope.
Yes,
That's
fishing rope.
That's my style. All right. Congrats to Apollo Cafe. Again, thank you so much for sponsoring this show here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Again, Greek Superstar flavor right there on historic Brady Street. Let's dive into the second part of my pub crawl here. I want to head over to the NFL All-Pro voting that came out this morning. I'm just going to go with the first team guys in this one at least. For your Green Bay Packers, you had one All-Pro. I'm going to assume you guys know who it is. Micah Parsons, before he got injured, is on there as an edge. He's joined by Myles Garrett and Will Anderson also as edges. Jeff Simmons, Zach Allen are your inside defensive linemen. Jack Campbell, Jordan Brooks are the linebackers. Derek Stingley, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Kyle Hamilton, and Kevin Byard are the first team secondary. We head over to the offense. Matthew Stafford beats out Drake May for first team All-Pro. A little surprising there. Bijan Robinson at running back, Kyle Juszczyk at fullback. I don't think it's been anybody other than Kyle Juszczyk.
No, he owns that trophy.
I think he should just be there all the time. They should put him there before the season starts. Puka Nacua, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Jamar Chase. No surprise there for the wide receivers. All 3 of them had great seasons. Christian McCaffrey, the all-purpose player, ended the season the leading receiver and rusher for the 49ers. Pretty insane. Trey McBride, first-team tight end, quietly had one of the greatest seasons from a tight end ever. That was pretty cool to see. By far the greatest season for the Arizona Cardinals. And then on the offensive line, Garrett Bowles, Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, Quinn Myers, Penei Sewell from left to right there for that first team All-Pro offense. Jack, what do you got up next on Pub Crawl?
Okay, we're going to shout out. We know we love our Division III sports from Wisconsin, so we are giving lots of love to the UW River Falls National Title Championship team. You got to love Division III football. My brother played Division III football. Those guys are really good athletes themselves. I know you did too. And, you know, it's good to recognize greatness no matter what level it is. And Wisconsin's just a powerhouse. We don't recruit. We just rebuild. You know, we reload, baby.
Damn straight. Oshkosh winning the volleyball championship. River Falls wins this one. I played against UW River Falls a few times at Elmhurst University.
Were they good?
I told this on Wisconsin Sports Daily too. So the WEAC, that conference, and then the CCIW where I played, those 2 conferences, they had a deal where for 2 years, each team would match up and play each other based on the rankings. So we were always the bottom. River Falls, the year before they signed that deal, was the bottom of the WEAC. The year after that, they just decided to be one of the best teams in the WEAC. And for the next 2-3 years, we got our butts handed to us in the first game of the season by UW River Falls. It was not a lot of fun. But at least now I get to say they're national champions, and we played the future national champions, and that's why we got our butts kicked.
Fair enough. Hey, it makes sense to me, Charlie.
All right, next up, I'm going to hop on over to the NBA, where Trae Young, Atlanta Hawks superstar guard, was sent to the Washington Wizards. For some reason, the top team on his trade target list for some reason. He got sent there just for CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert.
Oh my gosh.
Jack, did you see that trade coming in? Did you see Trae Young wanting to go to the Wizards ever on a bingo card?
As a guy who went to high school in the DC area, I don't know why anyone would want to trade themselves to the Wizards. But hey, if you're getting look, the area is really nice. The school system's great. Maybe he's going there for the school system, Charlie, because it's not for the basketball.
Fair enough. Jack, last up on the pub crawl here, my man.
Okay, I am going to make another Warlock Cheese Bowl prediction.
All right.
you probably might have already insinuated it too much today. But I think the Packers, if they win close, it's by 3. If they win by a lot, it's by 6. It's going to be between 3 and 6.
I like to hear it. Jack Hugh yesterday in the Dugout Chat on Wisconsin Sports Daily asked if we were going to do another bet. I'm going to lay one out there for you. So I have a nice Bears jersey, a couple nice Bears jerseys. Every time you step foot in this place for the next week, you have to be wearing the Bears. You don't have to wear it outside or anything.
No, that's
anything
fair.
like that.
I like this.
Anytime you step foot. My grandma, I love her dearly, very much so. She knows I'm a Bears fan, but she sometimes forgets that she got me this really nice Packers sweatshirt. If the Packers win, I'll be wearing that for the next week every time I step foot.
Verbal agreement. People have seen it. It's happening.
All right, there you go. So all the way through next week, I'll probably be wearing a Packers sweatshirt. That's how it feels right now. This has been Wisconsin Sports Weekend live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios and powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. We're also presented by Apollo Cafe, Milwaukee's Greek superstar flavor, right there on historic Brady Street for the past 25 years. Again, congratulations to them. Jack, thanks so much for joining me today. I wish you the best of luck tonight, but also I hate you and I want you to lose so bad.
Yeah, I still love you as a dear friend, but I promise not a lot of texts. And if my team wins, I won't gloat.
All right, fair enough. There you have it. It has been Wisconsin Sports Weekend. I'm Charlie Houston. That's Jack Pembroke, the Wisconsin Warlock over there. Have a great rest of your night, folks.
Go Pack, go!